That's right, and let's get a check at what's happening right now in Allentown. That's where we find WFMZ's Bo Koltnow. He's live along Martin Luther King Boulevard near the Parkettes building. Or that's where he was before. And Bo, I understand you moved now. Where are you now?
Eve and Jaciel, I have moved. I'm still on MLK Boulevard, but now I'm at the intersection of Lehigh Street. You can see once again how deep this water is. Now, if we pan right over here, we can see that submerged car that's been here all morning long. And in fact, the water level has not fallen off throughout the morning. We've been in other locations where we have seen quite a dip and how deep the water has been. That is not the case here on MLK Boulevard. Now I'm going to walk over just a bit. And if we look across the bridge, if you guys can see where that blue Pepsi machine is, there's another car that's just to the right of that has also been submerged throughout the morning. Earlier today, they did have a rescue boat head out to the truck to see if there was anybody inside. It was just a precaution. There wasn't anyone at that time in the truck. And there's also was, I guess you'd call them a good Samaritan. They were out here on their canoe or their kayak trying to figure out exactly what was going on. But even Jaciel, you know, throughout the morning, people have seen me in the water. Now, this is not something that people should be doing. I have been in this water all morning. I'm familiar with this area. Right now, there's no major current going on. There are no manhole covers underneath me that could have moved, which would put me in danger. So I want to give people an idea of just how deep this water is, but I don't want to put anybody in danger. So please do not do what I'm doing. The water is very cold. It is very dirty, so it ain't the best idea. I'm just a little crazy, guys. But if we can also pan across, you can see the Arboretum, the park off of MLK Boulevard. That is almost completely covered. The reason why, well, the little Lehigh is right behind that, and that's what's causing all this flooding. And throughout the morning, we've been in other parts of Allentown, and we've just seen how deep some of this water can get. But again, guys, the water is not receding at this point, and please don't do like boast. Stay dry. Even Jaciel.
Bo, I'm glad you mentioned that because I had some folks on my Facebook page a little worried about your safety. But as you mentioned, you know the area, and as reporters, we've all covered many storms, so we know when to pull the plug when things get a little too dangerous.
That's true, Eve. That's right. I'm not gonna get any video of me being washed away because that'll go right on YouTube, right. And that won't be a good thing.
We don't want
no,
that.
It won't.
No.
All
right, Bo. Well, thanks for braving it.
Thank you so much. We're glad you're safe. Well, be sure to log on to WFMZ. We're going to go to Melissa Fullerton. She is just coming in for replacing Dwayne Parker there in Berks County.
Melissa, how are things where you are?
Things are good. You know, Dwayne just blew away and I blew in is what happened out here. We're just off Route 10 in Reading. And if you're in Berks County, Irene was a little hit or miss. I know I woke up this morning and looked out my window and it looked like fall outside, some leaves on the ground, nothing more. But then I traveled down my street, a few houses down, they had some big branches down in their front yard. So that's kind of the story all over Berks County. That's what we're hearing from folks. I know a lot of people are without power, and that seems to be the big issue around the county. The latest numbers we got in were that more than 34,000 people around Berks County are in the dark today. Those numbers are up from the last time we checked at 9 a.m. Then there were about 28,000 people without power. So a lot of folks dealing with that. I know I was in line at Wawa this morning and people were buying ice, saying they were trying to save what they could in their refrigerator. So that is a big issue. But let's look at some other video from around the county and start in Birdsboro if we can. There, Hay Creek is the issue. It's really roaring today for a little creek. Lots of water there, and some places underground or underwater, I should say, in Birdsboro. And then if you look up in Kutztown, they had some issues as well. Some streets there flooded, some cars underwater from some parking lots in that area. I know students were moving in this weekend, so that's a little bit of excitement for the new students at Kutztown University. But fortunately, we're not hearing of any injuries. We've been checking the emails from Berks Emergency Management. They said they've gotten lots of calls into the 911 center, but no injuries. So that is definitely a positive here from Irene. I know I heard just before you came to us, you were talking about New Jersey, and actually my mother-in-law has been staying with us all weekend long. She was evacuated from her home in North Wildwood, and they are waking up to a little bit of relief down there. today. She was with us. My father-in-law stayed in North Wildwood with emergency services. He was able to check on their house this morning, and he said it wasn't as bad as they expected. So a little bit of relief from Irene here today in New Jersey and Berks County, all over the place. Maybe not as bad as we expected, but still some things to look out for. We are still seeing some branches come down here where we are just off Route 10. You can see there are some branches from trees, and they may not look big, but if you're in that area and a branch falls near you, that could cause some problems. So you are going to want to keep your eyes on the trees today, keep your eyes on the wind. We're looking at the live chat, and at around noon, Maria from Mount Penn said the winds are fierce in Mount Penn. So you're definitely going to want to keep an eye on things blowing, tree branches, things of that nature. So that's pretty much the wrap up here in Berks County for now. We'll send it back to Eve and Jaciel and check in a little while.
All right. Thanks so much, Melissa. And speaking of New Jersey, Mary Rosato commented on Facebook about an hour ago saying that at the Newark Airport Terminal B is flooded in the lower level. And even though they have all hands on deck, there's still a lot of water coming in. It's causing big problems there.
Yeah, headaches everywhere. So like Matt mentioned earlier, if you're not experiencing any problems, consider yourself lucky, because your neighbors right down the street may be experiencing some problems. Melissa mentioned the wind. We can hear it whipping outside of our studio in Allentown. We're all kind of holding our breath, hoping that our cars are okay out there in the parking lot. Let's check in on the situation now in Easton. That's where we find WFMZ's Jaccii Farris. Jackie, good afternoon now.
Good afternoon, guys. We are right by where the Delaware meets the Lehigh River, and let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on. Just down here at the water, when we first arrived, and last night as well, there was a clear bow in where the two rivers meet. It is slowly disappearing as we see more water pour in here. We're being told that the Delaware is expected to crest sometime tomorrow at about 8 o'clock. That means the road that we're on, where our live truck is on, is basically Larry Holmes Drive is going to be closed. You will not be able to get in here. There are a lot of folks gathered along the sides of the river, just watching the fury of Mother Nature and what Irene has left behind. Let's go ahead and take a look at the bridge down the way. You can see exactly how high the water level is rising. Now, Mayor Sal Panto says that tomorrow is going to be a really rough day for Easton, that they expect massive flooding, and already they've started sending reverse 911 calls to people in low-lying areas, as well as evacuating people in certain areas like Lehigh Drive. Now, we had some video that we were talking about all morning long. One of the hot spots in this area has been Bushkill Drive. There were a number of people who live in a townhome who woke up this morning to water at their front door and had to move to the second floor. Some of them were trying to get out. Mayor Sal Panto says that barricades have gone up. He's asking people to think smart and respect the barricades, because if you go around them and you get stuck, he says you will get a ticket. We also want to tell you about 611. It's covered with trees, falling trees, because of the condition of the ground. We've had so much moisture in the last couple of weeks that the ground just can't hold the tree roots, so they're snapping, they're falling over, and tree crews are out and about trying to clean up the mess, trying to make sure that people can get around the Easton area. Now today, Easton has a full complement of emergency workers who are trying to get out and take care of business. So if you don't have to go out, I know a lot of folks just really want to see this site, but if you don't have to go out, stay off the roads and let the emergency crews do what they need to do. So as far as the situation here, we're watching as the water level rises, and we anticipate massive flooding here in Easton tomorrow and Tuesday. Eve, Jaciel.
All right, Jackie, thanks so much.
Well, Irene already prompted at least one school. WFMZ's Bo Koltnow was live along Lehigh Parkway in Allentown with the latest last time we checked with him. Let's go see where he is now. Bo?
Jaciel, I'm in the Lehigh Parkway, and throughout the day we've been in the different intersections, we've been in the different street corners and so forth, but here, if you thought you could get away, go for a nice run, go for a nice walk, forget about it. Take a look right over here. You can see the Little Lehigh has completely covered the parkway. they have a measuring stick. It's 8.5 feet. That's what the water level is right now. And I was just told that there's a large tree that has blocked the road near the police academy. So even if you wanted to come down here and try to see what was going on, you really couldn't. And now take a look at this, just to give you an idea of how powerful the water has been throughout the day. Look at all the debris on the bridge here. If you guys can see it, you can see the trash bin. That's been washed up. And if you guys look over here, this can be quite dangerous. Look at this. These are sticks, giant branches that are just sticking up all over the place on this bridge. So if you have any notion of coming down here for going for a run, for taking your dog, I would forget about it. And also, it's not just this here, it's the pathways here in the parkway as well. Take a look at this. This jogging path that is completely submerged with water all the way down. So again, not a good idea to run. The wind is starting to pick up. And even Jaciel, I want to show you guys something to let you know how powerful this water can be. Now, I don't say that I'm a superhero, that I don't have any kind of extraordinary strength, but check this out. This is a manhole cover. Watch this. If Zach can zoom in, I can easily move this with my hand or with my foot. Well, maybe it's not really coming up as good as I thought it would. But anyways, that is very close to just being taken completely off its track, and that's been the case all throughout Allentown. So again, just to give you guys an idea of what it's like here in the parkway, the water's 8.5 feet high, and it's completely covered the area. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Bo.
Bo, quite a challenge for folks looking to walk their dogs in that part of town today.
Yeah, I know my parents' dog won't even go out when it's drizzling, so I'm sure she's freaking out right now. But amazing video, amazing pictures there from Bo. Thanks so much. And we want to remind you, if you'd like to talk to us about what...
Head out to Easton now, where the Delaware River is expected to crest eventually. It hasn't crested yet, and it could cause some problems for folks in the Easton area. Let's check in with WFMZ's Jaccii Farris for the latest there. Good afternoon, Jaccii.
Good afternoon, Jaciel and Eve. Well, right now we're experiencing a lot of wind gusts. The rain has stopped and the wind has really picked up. I'm not sure exactly what the speed is, but it's pretty forceful. You know, all things considered, Easton is bracing for a second impact. There was a lot of rain and there's been a little bit of flooding and activity going on, but tomorrow is the big story for Easton. Let's go ahead, you mentioned the Delaware. Let's take a look at exactly what's going on. We came to you about a half hour ago, and you could see, if you saw that cut in, then you'll notice how the water has risen in just a short time. The curve at the convergence between the Delaware and the Lehigh River is almost gone, and that spells big trouble for the Easton area, because that means that the water is going to continue to rise, and people who live along its banks are going to be experiencing flooding. Massive flooding is expected. According to Mayor Sal Panto, earlier he told us that it's expected that the Delaware was going to crest at about 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, but now we're hearing this could come much sooner than that because they're getting more water than anticipated. Now I want to show you the bridge over at the end here by the Lehigh. You can see none of the posts are showing. People are going back and forth over the bridge. The water is getting very, very high. You can see the side road there. I'm not sure if that is what road that is, if it's canal or the road. It's the road on the other side of the Delaware. The water is dangerously close to the banks there, and people across the way on the boat launches, people have been standing there all day. The beginning of the day, they were able to go about 10, 15 feet down. Now the water is making its way up that boat launch. Now, I have to tell you, they're waiting for the Lehigh to crest and waiting for Bushkill Creek. I can tell you that Bushkill Creek has already started spilling over. We do have some video from earlier today of a progression of water that spilled over into a townhome complex. Last last time we checked, it was at the front door, and people were really concerned about what they were going to do about their property, how they're going to get out, things like that. They, had been told that flooding was a possibility and they should seek higher ground, but they didn't get out in time. So the one thing as we turn the page to Monday that we need to remember, especially here in the Easton area or anywhere low-lying near a body of water, especially during this time in Irene, if you're told to get out, please do so. Leave behind those belongings, grab your pets, grab your prescriptions, and just go. And as you're making your way around these areas, see the gusts are pretty strong. As you're making your way, oh, do you see that? Our camera's actually lifted off the ground. This is the kind of intensity that we've been dealing with every morning. We get every couple of minutes, you get pounded with rain, and then a gust comes up and really just knocks you off your feet, and that's the kind of thing. When Easton goes into tomorrow, if you get a call, someone knocks on your door, grab your stuff and go. Don't go around those barricades. I can't say that strongly enough, because you are actually taking your life in your own hands when you do that, because you don't know what's under the water, and if you get stuck, emergency responders have to come and get you, and they're spreading themselves thin today, trying to take care of everything and everyone. This is such a huge storm. So the thing to remember today is to stay safe, stay home, let people, the emergency crews, do their work, and check out all of the storm coverage on WFMZ.com. One last thing I got to tell you, 611 is closed. 611 South is closed because of a lot of tree branches. A huge tree trunk over the side. We have some video. We have a crew there, and we're going to bring that to you in our next cut-in.
All right, Jackie.
WFMZ's John Craven is driving around in Northampton County in the 69 News Storm Patrol, usually a snow patrol, now a storm patrol this time of year. Let's check in with John now. John, good afternoon.
Well, as wicked as the weather has been today, Eve, snow is probably in the forecast after all the mess we've been through. We're driving through Wilson Borough here in Northampton County, and if you look at the top right of your screen, you can see some tree branches have definitely fallen from these trees, but I think all in all, most folks we've talked to today have said, we kind of dodged a bullet. Yeah, there was a lot of flooding and a lot of power outages, but I think people were expecting a lot more tall trees to come down. Now, we've noticed in the past 30 or 45 minutes, though, that the winds have really picked up on the backside of this storm, and that could start bringing more of those tree limbs and tree branches down now that the ground, like Ed Hanna was mentioning this morning, the ground is so saturated now that these trees with just a little bit of extra wind could just come down very quickly. But if you look, here on the streets of Wilson Borough, you see some small branches and leaves and so forth down, but for the most part, most of the neighborhoods here are looking okay, and that's what we've seen throughout the area. I got to tell you, though, this is a far cry from my drive into work this morning around 3:30. There were, tree branches down all over the place, lots of detours through Center City, Allentown, a lot of power outages. So hopefully this is more of what we're going to see over the next few hours, mainly clear streets and hopefully not too many more trees down, guys.
Yeah, let's hope.
All right, John, thanks so much.
Thank you, John.
It's nice to see the live storm patrol out there bringing us real-time pictures of the streets.
It works in all weather, which is nice to know.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's head over.
All right, Matt, thanks so much. WFMZ's Bo Koltnow is live along another part of the Lehigh Parkway in Allentown. Let's check in with him now. Bo, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Eve. Good afternoon, Jaciel. We've been talking about toppled trees over the past couple of minutes with Matt. Now let's take a look behind me. You can see a humongous toppled tree has fallen here on the parkway. It spans from one side all the way to the other, virtually blocking the entire road here. And we've seen this all throughout Allentown. We've seen trees down. We've seen lots of debris all over the roads, and so there's no doubt going to be a huge cleanup effort once Hurricane Irene passes. But for a lot of people, they've been worried about the flooding. So let's take a look at the parkway. You guys can see that the Little Lehigh is turned into a lake. It's now Lake Parkway is what we should call it. And if Zach can just pan down to the bridge where the guy in the blue shirt is, last hit, we showed you what that bridge looked like. It was completely covered with debris, from branches that were spiking up through the grate to toppled trash cans. So it just kind of gives you an idea of the power of this water. I could actually move a manhole with my feet and with my foot because of the power of the water. But, you know, even Jaciel, one thing that we failed to mention throughout this whole morning is that we've seen people with cameras coming to virtually every spot that we've been. So this has become a huge event for a lot of people. They want to get pictures of all the flooding. They want to get pictures of the submerged cars. They want to get pictures of the toppled trees. But again, one thing that I do have to stress is stay out of this water. People have been watching this morning. I've been in it. It's been up to my waist in certain spots. But for every case that's been, I've known what the area was like underneath. I've known that there's been no manhole covers. I've known that there's not been anything that I could fall into because, in fact, I live close to where those areas are. So for me, I felt it was worth the risk, and I wanted to let people know exactly how deep the water was. But if you're out and you're taking pictures and you want to see what it's like, stay dry, because trust me, the water is cold and it's dirty. Even Jaciel, back to you.
Now we're going to head back to Reading, where WFMZ's Melissa Fullerton has an update for us on the situation there. Melissa?
Yeah, hi, Eve and Jaciel. You know, you were mentioning the governor talking about emergency services. Something that people here in Berks County should remember is when to call 911 and when maybe the call that you're making is not appropriate. And I know in the city of Reading, they have opened up their Citizen Services Center. That number is 1-800-PA, as in Pennsylvania, PA Reading. And if you call that number, they're looking for calls like about down trees in the street or blocked streets in Reading. They said let 911 deal with more emergency calls. If it's a non-emergency call, maybe, you know, something that you don't need 911 services for, they're urging folks to call that number, and they have that staffed today. The big story here in Reading right now, we're getting a little bit of rain. We're still getting some gusts of wind, but it's power outages. And Kutztown University, we just got a news release from them. They said they are dealing with a power outage up there. All but 500 students are back on campus right now. They came back this weekend, anticipating the start of the semester tomorrow, and right now they're in the dark. The university says they're actually trying to get together some games to keep the students occupied. They also have campus police doing some extra patrols of buildings just to make sure everything's okay up there. But they tell us that the power has been out at the university since 8:30 this morning, and that is a med-ed issue, not the university. Med-ed takes care of their power, so they're going to be waiting just like everyone else to get the electricity back on. I also want to show you some video from Kutztown earlier today. We're looking at an area between Industrial Avenue and East Normal Street, and that's where some cars were submerged underwater. Now, some were submerged because they were in a parking lot. We saw one car that was submerged because they tried to cross through some standing water. And, you know, we say again and again, please don't drive through standing water. But we say it again and again because people do it again and again. And we saw that today in Kutztown with some cars stuck there. No injuries, but definitely probably some students calling their parents and asking about insurance today with some of those cars submerged in Kutztown. Back here along Route 10, we're still getting some of those gusts. Like I said, we're getting a little bit of rain, but nothing too major. The area where we are off of Morgantown Road really hasn't seen too much damage. We're seeing some branches down from trees, and that seems to be an issue all over the county. Some branches larger than others. In Birdsboro, we saw a tree uprooted earlier today that came down across Hay Creek and was causing kind of a damming effect, and that was actually causing some problems for folks with water going into their backyard. But, you know, like we've been saying all day, just keep an eye on your trees, take precautions. You know, the storm's not quite over yet. You might look out and say, it's not so bad, but you never know when a branch may come crashing down. So you just want to be careful there. And I'll tell you what, even Jaciel, earlier this summer, we had our trees trimmed at my house, and it was a little painful to pay for it at the time. But today we are definitely thankful that we had some of those dead branches cut out and resting a little easier after we had that done. So money well spent, I'll say. Money well spent.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank goodness you did that, Melissa. Thanks for the update from Reading. We appreciate it. Well, the Delaware River is always a concern, of course, when our area gets a sound soaking.
WFMZ's Jaccii Farris is live in Easton to tell us about conditions there. Jaccii?
Well, guys, last time around we told you about some video of 611. We want to go ahead and show that to you. There are a lot of trees that are down on 611. Crews are out there right now with backhoes trying to clear away branch upon branch. 611 is a mess right now with all of the fallen trees. You have to understand, with all the moisture that we've been getting the last couple of weeks, the ground is saturated, so the roots just can't hold. And when all this rain does come, it breaks branches that maybe, aren't as strong because of all of the weather that we have experienced. So 611 right now, a big mess. You want to steer clear. That 611 south at this point. Crews are just trying to get rid of the mess there and try to clean things up. All hands are on deck today here in the Easton area, trying to make sure that everything is taken care of. You can see there are some people traveling along 611 on the other side of the Delaware and across the 3rd Street Bridge. But if you look underneath, you can see how high the water is rising. It's coming to the bottom of the arc on the bridge. We've watched this river rise, the Lehigh rise, for all morning long. Even since last night, we were out here till 12:30 monitoring the situation. And as you come down and you look at the arc where the Delaware and the Lehigh meets, this morning when we came out, that bend, the bow, the arc, whatever you want to call it, was about 7 feet. There was a lot of room to grow, but now it's almost gone, and that's a huge concern for the area because massive flooding is expected tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be such a rough day for the people around here. We've had reverse 911 calls go out to residents to tell them that they need to get out of their homes if they are in low-lying areas. Right now we're hearing the Robsville area down by Canal Drive is not doing too badly, but come tomorrow, once the Delaware crests, it's expected it's going to happen around 8 o'clock. That will be a very different story. And the folks over there, they've got it down to a science. We spoke to them on Friday, and they were taking apart their basements and loading things up onto U-Hauls and trying to take everything to higher ground to be in preparation. And I'm pretty sure those folks are probably looking at the river and making some very tough decisions. But it's a decision that's very important. If you live in a low-lying area and you get a phone call or an emergency worker knocks on your door, grab your stuff, grab your kids, grab your prescriptions, grab your pets food, and hit the road, because really staying behind for belongings just is not worth risking your life at this point. Now, we want to tell you that, again, 611 is tricky. Bushkill, the Bushkill Creek right now is just spilling over. We showed you video earlier of some houses, the people, they went to sleep overnight and they woke up and the water was at their front door. So if nothing else, that just is an example of how important it is to watch the situation. Stay tuned to 69 News. Watch WFMZ.com and find out what the conditions are in your area and take all necessary precautions. Now, as far as the conditions now, it's pretty gusty. It hasn't rained for a while, so we're hoping that things kind of calm down, because tomorrow will be a big test for the city of Easton. Back to you guys.
All right, Jackie, as I was coming into work this morning, I saw a lot of people like those behind Jackie out looking at the damage that Hurricane Irene had done.
Yeah, we saw some amazing pictures and videos. We've been looking at them all morning long. I think people are just amazed to see this happening, and some of those small creeks like we've been talking about, just overflowing their banks, and just it's an amazing.
WFMZ's John Craven, he's at the Promenade Shops in Upper Saucon Township. You doing some shopping, John?
Well, I'd certainly have the place to myself today, because as you can see, there's almost nobody here. The lights are off and the stores are closed. Mall management tells us it's really more because of flooding. Of course, Highway 309 just up the road was completely shut down for much of the day. It's now reopened. That's how we were able to get over here. But again, the power's been very intermittent over here, they tell us. So Promenade is closed probably for the rest of the day. They're going to try to reopen again tomorrow. So if you want to try to go shopping, you guys, might work.
I don't know. I think a lot of businesses, John, followed suit. When I was coming in, I drove by the 24-hour Redners, and it was locked up tight. Dark inside, hardly any cars in the parking lot.
Yeah, well, you know, Jaciel, I really wouldn't want to go out in this weather. It's getting really windy again out here, getting almost knocked over here right now. We are seeing a couple of cars coming in and out. I think they're trying to see if maybe there's somewhere to eat or something, but mall management tells us that pretty much this whole place is shut down right now, guys.
All right, John. Well, we appreciate you making the rounds in the storm patrol for us this morning. And thanks so much for updating us.
Also good to know that 309 by Center Valley is open now, Center Valley Parkway, because that area was shut down.
That's always a problem spot every storm. So, yeah, good to know. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back after these messages. Stay with us.